Gemini. It's not your season, but it's almost your full moon. And it feels, you can feel yourself around a lot because Mars is in Gemini. This month I have a question for all the signs that came to me a couple weeks ago when I was writing. And we'll get into more in depth in the second part, which will be in a Patreon link below /extended. And then all information to work with me as well is there. Okay. So after your full moon, basically what's hiding is coming out. I don't know what that's going to look like, which we'll get more information here. What that's going to feel like, what that's going to be like. It doesn't have to be necessarily a quote unquote bad thing. It could just be something that hits you in a way where you could have needed it. You know how that is. But it's all going to be some of it's going to be overexposed. So become very obvious to you, especially after the 7th. It might feel a little distorted until the 7th of December. So yeah, it's important to just keep diligently, keep your head down. Focus on what you need to focus on. And that also includes being grateful for what you're working on and what, depending on where you're at in your life, what that looks like. Every step of the way, sometimes we forget to be, grateful for each step, each place that we're in, because we're so looking forward. And it's funny because a few of the signs I was talking about the future because it was just important to bring up. But for you, the future isn't so important to bring up right now. We'll talk about more of that probably next month. But right now, it's very important to be with what's needed and what's necessary, so it seems. Because when what comes out, whether it's just to you personally, your conversation with universe, God, or whatever you call the higher power, someone in your life that's you feel like you can talk to, could be a person who is knows how to handle, situations that call for deep compassion, but specific choice in words. And I think that this person or this moment, you appreciate that. It could be an extension from something you've talked about for the past couple months, something you've been thinking about for a while, and you're now coming to terms with the fact that the reason why this is coming up, or the reason why that this is, shedding light in your life for such an extended period of time. For some of you, this could be years, but in the past couple months, it's just been overemphasized. And you could have the depth, regardless of what's said during this conversation with this other person or the situation, or what you're wanting from the situation, the kind of feeling or expectation that you want. I think that it may be wiser to go into it with, I have an intention of what I want to get out of this. I know what I want to get out of this. But not forcing your way there and letting the opportunity present itself, because certain signs, can be stuck and not do anything and remain stuck. You're a sign that can do that for sure. But you also can be someone who are a sign that even when you're stuck, you're moving, and you're just kind of, or you think you're moving and you're not really, which is fine, but that may cost you a lot of energy this month, where you can be putting it in terms of, now we'll talk about the future, about what you're building, and you'll find that you have more luck there right now. A lot of there's a lot of personal stuff going on with you, but you don't want to inform or talk about it with, you know, the normal people you would talk about it with. You might come open with it in the future, but right now it's more of a delicate situation. It needs to be handled with care because what's going to be said, like kind of what we're talking about now, isn't always easy. Because towards the end of the month, what you want to be able to do is just go out and be out and do your thing and enjoy the way you want to enjoy and not feel like you have to explain yourself or, you know, overdo. Or, you know, your brain's overdoing. So the beginning of the month, the reason why it's focus is important, even up until maybe this comes out. The reason why, like, whatever kind of gratitude practice or prayer you have in your life is important because it's going to balance out everything else that's going on, so that your mind's not constantly making lists. Maybe you're writing them out and like doing that, you know, maybe you're doing that with how you're grateful or your prayer or whatever it is, because sometimes things need to come out. Or maybe you're talking to yourself. They really need to come out of you. Even those simple, small things, because they're not small. Over time, that list gets huge, especially depending on what your life looks like and what stage in life that you are in. But for the most part, a lot of people have a lot going on. This month will be a very, I guess, normal month, I should say. Like, it's going to be something where you can easily communicate what you really want with your actions. And then towards the end of the month, you start to learn more what surrender really means in certain aspects of your life. Surrender to maybe what you're really wanting, even though you can go through periods of being, you know, grateful and you know you're getting what you need, but there's still this expansion that keeps coming back to you, just like that other thing. It's like this expansion, this bigger is happening. And I think towards next season, towards the end of the month, you'll have more room to give that the attention that it needs, because right now it's just like little moments, little pockets of time, maybe throughout your day. And you're realizing when that happens, you then start to even like talk or think about like the possibility of expanding on this, and then you want to give it, you know, the proper energy that it needs if you can, and then you do. And then as long as you're not cutting corners, because this, you know, Sagittarius season can move pretty fast, but as long as you're not cutting the corners, when we get to next season, it'll be a lot smoother. There will be a very obvious notion that you're where you need to be. Sagittarius season reminds you that you're where you need to be. That we all have our setbacks. We all have our positive and negatives. We all have our moments where we feel on top of the world, and then we have our low moments, and that is Sagittarius season, where we feel loved and seen, and then where we don't. It's a huge mixture and a responsibility to keep this fire lit, to keep people on board, to keep yourself on board with this faith, with this belief in something, even if it's life. And the more you lean into that, the more you gain from this month. Because for some of you very specifically, you'll come across a very important conversation, a very important person, and you didn't realize, and you won't realize they're important as they are until the moment's passed or the moment's happening, because it could just start off as a casual conversation with someone who you weren't expecting to hear what you've heard from. And it might take a moment for things to sink in, but then you start to feel that fluster and that static energy. Like, yeah, sure, it could be stagnant, but static still has the little particles fluttering around. And you're going to want to remember that focus and to put it there towards the end of the month, because it becomes very clear to you, especially wherever you have Capricorn placements, but it becomes clear to you what really needs your love and attention and your discipline, and that's sometimes the same thing. So that fuels even more than it would if you tried to force something else or tried to hide or overexert, which can be the same thing. Overextend yourself. There's a few really necessary actions and conversations that you need to have, and this month will be a month of accomplishment in a way that you didn't know you needed to feel. Yeah. That's it. That's it, Gemini. And it's beautiful. And I'm happy for you. All information, again, to work with me is below. And this season, if you find yourself feeling alone, I heard this from a few different people, so I just want to extend the message. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. It's, again, that high and low. I talked to you about it because you may actually really impact you in a certain way. I think that more things are empowering you, though, now, and I think that's a beautiful space. But if you at all do feel that way, don't be afraid to reach out to whomever it is, even if it's me. My contact is below, my email, my Instagram. It's Venusian Waves. You can also it's just the title of the channel. And I'm probably going to do a podcast about that because that seems to be coming up a lot. So that will be also in a link below towards the end of the month. And I hope you have a great season. And we'll see you next month.